I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have had mixed feelings about the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro since it was released last year. And there are certain things that I really don't like about it, and I have been quite vocal about those in previous videos that I've done, and I'll highlight some of those points in this video as well. But there are also some features that make it a great camera and make me want to use it at certain times. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what my actual experience is using the Osmo Action 5 Pro over the past 6 months, and then you can decide for yourself whether the pros outweigh the cons if you're still trying to decide whether or not this is the camera for you. And this perspective mainly comes from vlogging and using it for POV shots as well, so do bear that in mind as you're watching the video. There's no denying that the Osmo Action 5 Pro does a pretty great job in low light as long as you dial in the right settings, but that really goes for any camera anyway. And whether you're filming at night or just indoors in dimly lit environments, you'll get clear, clean, usable footage. I definitely avoid the super night mode though, as I do think the footage looks unnatural, so shooting in the regular video mode in either the normal colour profile or D-Log-M is going to give you the best quality in my experience. Now, the video quality in general is where I've had mixed feelings about the Osmo Action 5 Pro. When you shoot in D-Log-M, the footage is great. Dynamic range, colours, great. But as soon as you use the normal colour profile in daylight situations, so not low light, the footage looks fake at times and unnatural, especially when it's a really sunny day, and it just has that overdone HDR look that you just can't turn off. Since its release, there has been a firmware update that was recent-ish, which added a couple of colour tones, which are neutral and vivid. But honestly, I still don't think that that fixed that overly HDR look that it has, and I'll show you some footage a little bit later on because I'll go into a bit more detail about those new colour tones. But yeah, for me, shooting in the normal colour profile is just not something I do with the Osmo Action 5 Pro. If I wanted to do that, I just use the Osmo Action 4 instead, or the Ace Pro 2, depending on what I wanted the camera for. So the biggest reason that I would use the Osmo Action 5 Pro would be if I was using it alongside other cameras. So if I was using the Osmo Pocket 3, for example, and also my Sony a7S III, then I'd use the Action 5 Pro in D-Log-M so that I could then match that footage so that all the footage could look pretty seamless. Now, even though I see this HDR as an issue with the normal colour profile on a normal day, I can't speak for what it looks like if you shoot with the camera underwater, because I haven't actually done that yet. So when I go on holiday this year, I'll take it with me, obviously, and then I'll test it underwater and see what that footage looks like. And whilst I am on the subject of being on holiday, by the way, I just want to shout out NordVPN as they're sponsoring this video, and you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan when you use my link nordvpn.com/Tamara Gabriel, and you can also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So I've literally been using NordVPN for the past 6 months, and the reason that I bought it initially was because I wanted to access features on my Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses that weren't accessible in my region, so I could only get hold of them if I were in the US or a different region. So that's basically what the biggest benefit of NordVPN is. It allows you to access content that you wouldn't otherwise be able to access in your region. So if you think about when you go on holiday, if you started to watch a show on Netflix, for example, and you just wanted to finish binging it whilst you're on holiday, you could connect to NordVPN for your home region and then finish binging. I did this when I went on a couple of trips abroad last year, and it worked great. And the other great thing about it is that it adds an extra layer of security whilst you're online. And if you use Threat Protect, which I constantly have on, when you download a file or click a link, NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro will scan the file to check it for malware, and in terms of links that you click, it'll block fake, fraudulent and malicious sites and sites that are scams, which is pretty useful. At the moment, you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan when you use my link nordvpn.com/Tamara Gabriel, and it's great as it's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's a no-brainer. I've dropped a link in the description, and thanks again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So as I mentioned, the biggest use case for me with the Osmo Action 5 Pro is using it when I'm using other cameras so that I can easily match footage. And even though this next point doesn't necessarily apply to me because I film solo, it is pretty handy if you film with other people or if you want to do interview style videos whilst you're vlogging. So this comes down to the mics. If you have the DJI Mic Mini or the Mic 2, you can connect the transmitters via Bluetooth, so there's no need for the receiver. But the benefit of the Osmo Action 5 Pro over the Osmo Action 4 is that the Action 5 Pro actually allows you to connect 2 transmitters via Bluetooth, whereas the Action 4 only allows for 1. So if this is a big deal for you, then that feature alone could be something that tips the scales. Like I said, for me, it's not something that I need or would use, so it's not a big deal to me, but it is still a very useful feature nonetheless. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, the firmware update that added the 2 colour tones, neutral and vivid, didn't really do much to change the HDR look of the footage. And so the footage that you're seeing at the moment is normal colour profile with the neutral colour tone, and I'll switch over to vivid in a second. But yeah, I just can't really see much of a difference, and I'll switch over first. And so with the vivid colour tone, which is what I've now switched to, again, there's not really any difference in terms of that HDR look, and there's not a massive difference between vivid and neutral. Neutral kind of looks a little bit less saturated. Obviously vivid would give you that more contrasty look, but there's not a huge difference between them. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just not too convinced still. Also, so just being in the vivid colour profile, I've got the Action 4 here as well, and I'm going to just put that on so that you can see what that footage looks like. And so the Action 4 has just the normal colour profile, and then the Action 5 has the vivid colour profile. And I still think the Action 4 footage just looks better. It really does. Just even looking at the little screens here, the Action 4 footage still looks better. Look at the clouds. Look at the sky over my shoulder there. Doesn't it just look more natural with the Action 4? What is going on? Also, really quickly, I just switched the Action 5 into neutral. So this is now the Action 4 and then the Action 5 in the neutral colour tone. And yeah, just again, just look at the clouds over that way. How much more natural the Action 4 looks, just more detail. Just like you can see it in real life, or like I can see it in real life. And the footage just looks, you know, you've got the highlights and more contrast on the face rather than it just looking kind of flat and waxy, I would say the Action 5 looks at the moment. Honestly, I still don't get the look of the Osmo Action 5 Pro. I would have thought that there would by now be a way to just toggle the HDR on and off, just so that you could have that option. To me, the Action 4 still looks more natural and detailed. That HDR gimmicky look is still there with the Action 5, so I know for sure that unless I'm filming in low light or D-Log-M, I probably won't be using the Osmo Action 5 Pro. In normal daylight vlogging situations, the Osmo Action 4 would be the winner for me. So with all that in mind, if you are still considering the Osmo Action 5 Pro and you think it's going to be perfect for you, I've dropped a link in the description. Otherwise, if you're still not convinced and you're wondering if the Osmo Action 4 is worth buying today, then check out my next video.